He's an author. He's a world record holder. If that wasn't enough, this kid's got a cool Belgian accent. Let's put our hands together for Dr. Mike Van Thielen.
This will be the first time in history that parents will outlive their children. That's a very scary statistic, isn't it? Question is, are you going to be part of that statistic? And quite frankly, the choice is yours. I am Dr. Mike. I've been studying and applying health practices, regenerative medicine, anti-aging for over 3 decades now. And I've applied these systems to thousands of patients and clients. And fact is that natural or alternative medicine is far less invasive and harmful than conventional medicine, meaning drug and surgeries, but doesn't give us lasting results either. So I had to look further. I had to go back to basics, and I had to study the laws of human life and look closer at Mother Nature to find the truths about health. So what I want to do today as the first speaker is to give you a different perspective on health and disease. Is that okay? Excellent. So, we like to talk about freedoms in this country, right? But it seems they've been under the gun for a while, and us patriots need to keep protecting those. But with that said, all these freedoms, they don't mean anything. They don't do us any good if we don't have health freedom. Because if we are sick and we suffer from a chronic disease or a degenerative disease, we cannot enjoy those freedoms. We cannot enjoy our free time. We cannot enjoy our money. We cannot create and share our abundance and help others. Correct? Great. So, it's imperative then that we are in optimal health. Do you agree? I said, do you agree? Yes. All right. So what is health freedom? Health freedom is the freedom that all of us have to be in total control of our health. So, we can have doctors and healthcare professionals, insurance companies, small and big pharmaceutical companies, the fake news, we can have them control or better ruin our health, or we can decide to take control of our own health. In other words, we can decide to be sick and sad, or we can decide to be healthy and happy. And I suggest that you choose health freedom. Now I'm going to engage you guys a little bit more here this afternoon so we all wake up. Is that okay? Yes. All right, every time during this presentation I say we need to choose health, you guys need to shout, freedom! Freedom! Just like Mel Gibson in Braveheart. All right? So we need to choose health. A little bit louder. We need to choose health. All right, good. Why is it so difficult for us to make the right choices and choose health freedom? The answer is our awareness. Because our awareness gives us the freedom to choose our response. And it's probably our greatest power. And according to the Spider-Man movie, with great power comes great and responsibility simply is the ability to respond. Now, animals, they don't have that awareness. They don't have that freedom to choose their response. They have an instinct, and they always act according to the laws of Mother Nature, in their best interest and in the best interest of their species. That's why they are in perfect health. Have you ever seen a wild lion, antelope, giraffe, gorilla with COPD, Alzheimer's, type 2 diabetes, cancer, the cold or the flu? Have you ever seen a fat one? No. But we humans, on the other hand, we have the freedom to choose our response to any given stimulus and situation. And we have become slaves of making the wrong decisions over and over again, which has put us as individual and species at ill health. Luckily, we have the same power, the same awareness, the freedom to choose our response, to stop this nonsense once and forever and choose health. Freedom! Good. So, let's talk about the cause of disease. And luckily, there is only one. As part of our normal daily functions and processes, our body builds cells, anabolism, and destroys or breaks down cells, catabolism. And this destroyed tissue is toxic matter. But in a normal functioning body, those toxins are eliminated from the body, so no harm is done. You guys with me? Yeah. Now, if we ingest or are exposed to far more toxins than our body possibly can eliminate, then these toxins accumulate in our blood and our body. And that's what we call toxemia. Now, where do these toxins come from? Number one, obviously they come from our man-made foods and drinks. We know they're, full of artificial flavors, sweeteners, colorings, gluten, high fructose corn syrup, and the list goes on. There's no nutritional value to those either. Number two, they come from our prescription medication and over-the-counter drugs, because they are just fake synthetic copies of natural compounds of Mother Nature, and they're nothing but chemicals and toxins to our bodily systems. Next, we don't live in pristine areas anymore. We live in cities and towns, and we are exposed to far more environmental toxins than ever before. Polluted air, polluted water, the exhaust fumes, in traffic, the chlorine fumes from our shower, and the ever exponentially increasing invisible silent threat of the 21st century, electromagnetic radiation. And last but not least, our stress and negative emotions, they cause an abundance of toxins in our body. Now, that's where all those toxins come from. Now, when these toxins are floating around in our body because we can't keep up with the elimination of these toxins, there's two things happening. Number one, these toxins floating around are going to steal an electron from a healthy atom, and that healthy atom now becomes unstable, and we call those free radicals. You guys heard about free radicals?
Yeah.
They can cause damage on a cellular level. The only way to neutralize those is antioxidants, because they can donate an electron to the free radical to make it stable again. And the second thing that happens, and this is very important to understand, is that when these toxins are floating around in our blood and our body, we are in a constant state of emergency. And in Western medicine, we call this systemic inflammation. And even according to conventional Western medicine, systemic inflammation is the cause of over 90% of all diseases. Okay? Even cardiovascular disease is now regarded an inflammatory process and no longer the result of high cholesterol, which always was a big hoax. Paul Ridker, a Harvard cardiologist, identified several principal markers for systemic inflammation, including C-reactive protein. So you easily can measure this with a blood test. If your C-reactive protein goes down, your systemic inflammation goes down, and you can prevent all disease. Okay? Now, if we know there's only one cause of all disease, there's only one solution, right? And so what we need to do is we need to try to decrease the ingestion and exposure to toxins while simultaneously increase the nutrients that fight free radical damage and systemic inflammation. Does that make sense?
Yes.
All right, excellent. It's going better in the slides. Next, we all understand how complex and ingenious our body is. But can we really grasp the magnitude of the workings of our body? We can build a rocket ship and put a man on the moon. We can create and control a nuclear plant, unless a natural disaster happens. but we are far from understanding the workings of the human body. So let's talk a little bit about health. And we can talk about health in many different ways.
You said health.
That's what we need to choose. All right. But let's talk today about health on a cellular level, and we keep it simple. Our body has an estimated 50 to 100 trillion cells. We can't grasp that number. That's more than the stars in the entire galaxy. Now, each and every one of those cells performs a few million chemical reactions per second. So if you want to know how many chemical reactions there occur in your body at any given second, we simply have to multiply 50 to 100 trillion with a few million. So next time somebody asks you if you're busy, you simply answer yes, extremely. Now, each and every one of those cells has 100,000 receptors on its outer membrane. And the RNA, or the messenger of each cell, tells those receptors constantly what it is that the cell needs to carry out its functions, to replenish, repair, and renew itself. For example, let's say the cell needs vitamin C. Hey guys, I need vitamin C. The receptors stick out their neck in the extracellular environment, but due to our standard American diet, SAD, that vitamin C is not available. So now the cell in the body is forced to use incompatible, not potent nutrients. Okay? It's like using a copy instead of an original. And if we make copies of copies, after a few times we can't read it anymore, correct? And the same happens on a cellular level. We get degeneration and mutation, which is disease and cancer. So what did we learn here? We simply learned that if we give our body all the essential nutrients it needs on a daily basis, that we can prevent all disease. The problem is that most of us only eat bad stuff, and therefore the body is forced to degenerate and mutate. Another thing we learned is, and you're gonna like this, we do not have to be health freaks. It's okay to get that slice of pizza or the taco on Tuesday and a beer, as long as you get all the essential nutrients, because then the body can renew, repair, replenish itself properly. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Awesome. Great. Now, as you now even more understand the magnitude and complexity of the human body, do you really think we're meant to interfere with this creation? Do you think that consuming man-made foods and prescription drugs are to the benefit of our body? No. Do you think that cutting off limbs and taking out organs benefits our body? No. Of course not. Do you even think that we really need to understand these trillions and trillions of chemical processes and workings of our body? No. Even if we wanted to, we never will anyways. But what we need to understand and realize is that our body knows what it's doing. That our body and every single cell in it, always from birth to death, will strive for perfect health. It's one of the laws of human life, the law of self-preservation. Okay? So, we just need to make sure that we choose health. That we make the right choices, and that we put our body in the correct conditions so that it can heal itself. So now you may ask, well, Dr. Mike, how do I do that? How do I regain control of my health? How do I achieve optimal health? How do I put my body in those right conditions? And what are those right conditions? Well, I got something for you. I made an acronym, and the acronym has 5 principles. It are the 5 principles of clean living. It's not coming. The C stands for control your emotions and feelings. L stands for listen to the warning signs of your body. E stands for enough rest, sleep, and sunshine. A is active lifestyle, but no overindulgences and no overstimulation. And N stands for natural and clean air, water, and food. So yes, the basics are here. We need to replace our man-made foods with healthy food items. We need to replace our sodas, energy drinks, milk, and juices with pure alkaline water. We need to expose ourselves to more sunshine, avoid polluted air, polluted water. Learn how to shield ourselves from electromagnetic radiation and take high-quality supplements as an insurance policy to make sure we give those cells everything they need on a daily basis. The saying, you are what you eat, therefore, is only partially right. There's many other things that we need to do to be in optimal health. Now, let's talk a little bit longer about supplements, because people always ask me, Mike, do we really need supplements? And my definite answer is always yes. Because man-made foods and drinks, they're not only loaded with chemicals and toxins, but they are void of any of those nutrients that our cell needs. And even if you exclusively would eat organic, wholesome foods, I still would recommend high-quality supplements. And here are the top 3 reasons. Number 1, we don't live in pristine areas anymore, and we don't grow our vegetables in our own garden. You should consider it of aquaponics, hydroponics, or do that, but most of us don't. So, even if we go to the farmer's market or the organic section in our supermarket, there is a time that lapses between harvest and consumption. And during that time, a lot of the essential nutrients are lost. For example, did you know that when we store asparagus for just 1 week, 90% of the vitamin C is gone? Did you know that when we pick an apple from a branch, 30 minutes later, 50% of the enzymes are dead? So yes, you need to choose organic, wholesome foods, but high-quality supplements will be an insurance policy. Number 2, our soil, as you know, is depleted from minerals and essential nutrients, right? After World War II, farmers started to use NPK fertilizers. That's only 3 minerals. Our body needs 60 to 70 minerals in order to function properly. And number 3, we don't live in pristine areas anymore, so we're exposed to far more toxins and pollution than ever before. That's why we need those supplements as an insurance policy in addition to a wholesome diet. All right, we're getting closer, right? We talked about health, we talked about disease, and we know that toxemia is the cause of all disease. Those toxins floating around in our body. And that's why we need to talk a little bit more today about EMR, EMF, EMR, electromagnetic frequencies, giving electromagnetic radiation. Because it's exponentially increasing and it adds to toxemia. And so it becomes very vital that we protect ourselves from it, okay? So I do have a best-selling Amazon book. It's available out there. I can give you a signature later if you want. It's a great book. It talks also about the toxemia and the disease and everything we talk about today. But as we adopt smart technology and computer-assisted living in every part of our life, we welcome its conveniences, right, Dr. Carter? Yeah. But we overlook the health ramifications that come with it. And now there's a vast body of science that shows on how EMR not only stimulates free radical damage, but also damages our DNA. So let's talk a little bit about electromagnetic frequencies. Everybody's familiar with our electromagnetic spectrum, right? We've all seen that in school. But what we see here is that on our left side, we have our low frequencies, our long wavelengths, like our radios, TVs, microwaves, but that's also where our cell phones, our Wi-Fi, our Bluetooth devices, and our appliances are. And on the right side, we have the high frequencies, the short wavelengths. That's our X-rays, gamma rays, etc. Now, often the electromagnetic spectrum or frequencies are categorized as ionizing and non-ionizing. Now, the ionizing frequencies on your right side, such as X-rays and gamma rays, the energy is so high that they actually directly can break DNA bonds, very damaging to the body, right? Now, the non-ionizing radiation, such as our cell phones, our wireless devices, our appliances, our microwaves, our Bluetooth devices, they are non-ionizing radiation. And the energy is not high enough to directly break DNA bonds. And therefore, they have been considered safe until now. Because there's plenty of research out there that now shows that this non-ionizing radiation indirectly causes severe damage to our DNA. And the problem with that is that we are exposed to it 24/7, all the time. How often do you get an X-ray? Once in a while. It's not good for you, but you don't do it all day long, right? This non-ionizing radiation we are exposed to 24/7, so it's a very accumulative, destructive effect. So, these studies now show that EMR causes changes and damage to our biology and physiology. And this is how it works, okay? It's important to understand because then maybe you want to do something about it, right? And you're already here. Applaud yourself. Very good. Most of our calcium is outside of our cell, extracellularly. And a minimum amount of calcium is inside the cell. Now, the influx from calcium from outside to inside the cell occurs through voltage-gated calcium channels. Okay? And these are basically small ion channels that are embedded in the cell membrane, and it's highly regulated. Now, electromagnetic radiation activates these channels, and so it results in an uncontrolled influx of calcium in the cell. That's the first thing that happens with exposure to EMR. The excess calcium inside the cell causes an increase in intracellular superoxide and nitric oxide, and they are going to combine to form peroxynitrite. Peroxynitrite is a potent or strong oxidant that breaks down in carbonate-free radicals. Now, carbonate-free radicals have a much longer half-life than most of your free radicals and therefore do much more and much more extensive oxidative damage to our body. For those who are interested, there's over 30,000 peer-reviewed published studies, and the website you would go to is emf-portal.org/en if you want English. So it's on the bottom there, emf-portal.org/en. Now, luckily, we came up with a 4-step action plan in working together with the anti-aging vet, John Baxter and Dr. Carter, and looking at all the research. And, there we go. A 4-step action plan. And so the first step of our action plan is that we need to mitigate those sources inside of our house. Okay, we got hundreds of things that you can do in the book. We don't have time for that today, but to give you a few examples, right? We can put filters on the electrical outlets that produce dirty electricity, right? We can identify magnetic fields or hotspots in our house and avoid those. We should replace all wireless devices and start using grounded, shielded power cords again, right? And there's many things that we can do inside the house to minimize the exposure to EMR. Step number 2, we need to mitigate the EMF from outside of our house, meaning the EMFs from our neighbors, the power lines, whether they're above or underground, the smart meters that our city put on our house, and those types of things. Number 3, we need to shield ourselves from EMR. And that's where the anti-aging bed company has a lot of tools available for you. Because what we can do, obviously, like myself the last 3 years, sleep on an anti-aging bed or a bed cover, which is silver thread nanotechnology, which shields you from the electromagnetic radiation. If you sleep 8 hours, that's 30% of your life, right? You can buy the same fabric to put under your laptop, to put in your chair at the office to shield yourself. You can consider CMOs and all those types of things. And step number 4, once we drastically minimize our exposure outside of the house and from our own body, there still will be some DNA damage, correct? But we can repair that if we want to, okay? So that's what we're going to talk about next. Because our body, and most people don't know this, our body has an innate DNA repair system. Everybody's got it. But in most of us, it's not working. Why? Because this repair system needs fuel. And the fuel for this repair system is NAD+. Who heard about NAD+ before? All right, good. Now, NAD+ is essential for DNA repair, but also plays a key role in optimal mitochondrial function, gene expression, and epigenetic modifications, which are fancy words for if you want to live longer, that's what you need. Okay? Now, how do we keep our NAD+ levels high? First of all, you need to get a low EMR or EMF lifestyle. We need to avoid this radiation because it depletes our NAD+. Number 2, we need enough rest, sleep, and sunshine. Number 3, we need to supplement with tryptophan and niacin. Niacin is a precursor to NAD+. Okay? We also should do resistance training. Strength training increases the levels of NAD+. And obviously we can get NAD+ supplements or get regular IVs of NAD+. All things you can do to keep those levels high so your body can repair its own damaged DNA. Sounds good? Another thing that we should talk about for a minute is NADPH. NADPH is the actual battery of our cells. It's an electron reservoir. Remember toxemia free radicals? We need antioxidants to neutralize those. But if we have an antioxidant and we donate an electron to a free radical, the antioxidant is done. Nothing more we can do with it. So we need to eat a lot of antioxidants to be able to do that. But what if we had an electron reservoir that every time an antioxidant gave an electron to a free radical to neutralize it, we could give another electron to that antioxidant. Then that same antioxidant could over and over and over again neutralize free radicals. Much more powerful than supplement with just antioxidants. In addition, the antioxidants that we know, vitamin C, D, E, selenium, zinc, glutathione, right? They are charged, which means is they cannot cross the cell membrane and cannot come to the rescue when it comes to DNA damage inside the cell. NAD+, NADPH, rather, recharges antioxidants inside the cell for DNA repair. How do we keep NADPH levels high? Again, low EMR lifestyle, no eating 3-4 hours before going to bed because that depletes NADPH a lot. Okay? Molecular hydrogen, H2. Heard of that? Tablets in your water. Because H2 inhibits NOx, which is the enzyme that breaks down NADPH. Podarco-T is another one. Magnesium, but magnesium threonate. That's the best magnesium in my opinion because it's able to not only pass the blood-brain barrier, but also be absorbed inside the cell. Magnesium, okay? And we also can activate the NRF2 pathway, no time to talk about, but we have a whole toolbox to make sure that we keep NAD+ and NADPH levels high so our own body can repair our damaged DNA and continue to much more effectively neutralize free radicals. How does that sound? All right, excellent. So, besides NAD+ and NADPH, there are many biohacking compounds and therapies and modalities that we can investigate and utilize to not only repair our DNA, but also optimize mitochondrial function and increase our longevity. In other words, decrease our biological age. So, we're gonna take action, right? We're gonna take major action. So, we are about, how many? 300-400 people here today? Great. Raise your hand if you want to be healthier. I never had so many hands up. Raise your hand if you want to perform at maximum potential again. Woohoo! Stand up if you want to be healthier, perform at maximum potential, and decrease your biological age so you live longer. Don't sit down. Don't sit down. While you're standing up, look around you and realize that more than 30% of us will encounter a heart disease. And more than half of us will have to cope with cancer during our lifetime. Now, look around again, but look somebody, one or two people straight in the eye. And realize that less than 20% of us will die of natural causes of old age. Less than 20%. That means that more than 80% of us will die prematurely of a disease. Now here's the problem. We all think that we are part of that 20%. That we are the healthy one and the invincible one. But guess what? 80% of us is wrong. So, if you're considered healthy, or you think you're healthy yourself because you're not diagnosed with a disease yet or you're not on prescription drug yet, one day soon you may suffer. And the first sign may be a simple rash or a deadly cancer. So, it's time that we choose health. You may sit down. So, every time, trying to find the right slide again, every time we take a breath, every time we take a breath, every time we ingest something, eat something, we are either feeding disease and promoting toxemia, or we are fighting disease and controlling toxemia. And the first thing we need to do is we need to start incorporating those 5 clean living principles we talked about. So, we need to get rid of that guy that tells us the bad things all the time, right? We really need to start taking control and choose health. Before I make my closing statement, that little QR code there, if you take a picture, my Biohacking Unlimited app will be live the end of this week. It will be free. If you take a picture of that, you will get an email when it's ready. Okay, so feel free to do that. It's also by the books. You can take a picture there. There's a few pages there. So, today is the first day of a new you. Today is the first day of year 0. And year 0 is the year in which you're going to make the right decisions about what? About your health, about your wealth, about creating and sharing abundance and helping others, right? So this is what I suggest you do tonight when you come home. You're going to stand in front of a mirror. Make sure nobody's watching. And it's going to go something like this. You guys are my mirror, okay? Could you not be healthier than you are now? Could you not be looking better than you look now? Could you not be leaner and at optimal weight? Could you not be stronger and more vibrant? When is the last time you saw yourself performing at maximum potential? Have you been missing the point? And have you been trading short-term pleasures and indulgences at the expense of the great treasures of life? health, abundance, and living for service. Guess what? You are fired. And then you turn around. Hey, you. I just fired someone and a great position just became available. Guess what? You are hired. And that's how you start today. Forget about the past. Forget about the past. Start working on your future and embrace the present, because the present really is the only place you can work from to make change.